Hi, this is Don McAllister and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. This week's show is split into two distinct parts, both connected with updates. The first part of the show covers some new DVR functionality added to Plex, the fantastic media server. If you're a Plex pass holder and have access to a hardware-based TV tuner, you can now watch and record live over-the-air TV using your Plex system. Now I'll demonstrate setting up Plex as a DVR and also how to access this new feature using the Plex iOS app. The second part of the show is a final look at Pages, Numbers and Keynote on both macOS and iOS. As you're probably well aware, I've covered all three apps in depth a couple of weeks ago to bring you up to speed on the new features in the current releases. Well, little was I to know that Apple would update all three apps just as I completed my series of tutorials. So the second part is just an update to let you know about the newest features just added to Pages, Numbers and Keynote. But first, let's take a look at the updates to Plex.